It was 2 years after my father died that I found his wallet. And this is his wallet. And when I opened that wallet, I found this piece of paper. And on this piece of paper is the list in my father's handwriting of all the medications he was on before he died. There's 17 medications on this list. That's not healthy aging, no. But when I was in medical school, I got 20 hours in the 4 years I was there for training on nutrition. I didn't even hear anything about health and wellness. They didn't teach us any of that. I didn't know the power of lifestyle behaviors. What we eat, how we move, how we sleep, how we manage our stress, how we avoid the toxins that we're always exposed to, how we surround ourselves with a community of like-minded people that lift our health. I wish I knew today, or I should say, I wish I knew then what I know today, because I would have made a difference. And now, with this presentation, I offer and I dedicate this presentation to my father. Yeah, we heard about Prime NMN this morning from Mark. He gave us a nice little sneak peek on what it's going to look like and what it's all about. Now we're going to take a deeper dive. Now we're going to kind of learn a little bit more about cellular energy, about healthy aging, and why one molecule, NAD, is such an important focus and such an important target for us to pay attention to when we're talking about healthy aging and longevity. About 2 years ago, we started learning about what goes on inside the cell, and specifically what goes on inside the mitochondria for the production of this energy, when we were introduced to Prime NAD+. You remember that? And we all started saying, wow, this could be the fountain of youth. This could be what we're all looking for because we need help and support as we get older. Because every function in our body, everything we do, just like Mark gave you that list this morning, how we think, how we move, how we recover, and how we repair our bodies, all requires cellular energy. So where do we get this? How do we make this energy? Well, NAD is central to that cellular energy. It is what we call a coenzyme. And coenzymes unlock reactions. And these reactions are all the reactions that create that cellular energy, that help us with our cellular metabolism, that give us that mitochondrial function, that enable us to help maintain our cellular integrity. Without that molecule, NAD, our cells would not be able to perform the way they do. So that's so important. It's in every living cell, as it says. It's really not optional. Every cell depends on it. And we know that NAD is the highest when we're young. And over time, it'll gradually decrease. Somewhere around age 35, we start to see that gradual decrease. And how can we support that? How can we then give ourselves that NAD we're looking for so that it won't enable ourselves to have that missing resilience? Because when you're talking anti-aging, when you're talking longevity, it's all about cellular resilience. So our bodies can't just manufacture NAD by itself. Yes, it does produce, every cell produces NAD, but how? Well, it needs precursors, it needs building blocks to make it. And because it's such an important molecule, like I said, NAD is central to all our cellular energy production. That our cells have multiple pathways, use multiple precursors, building blocks to make this NAD. That's how important it is. And that's where NMN and prime NMN fits into the equation. We had prime NAD+, but there are multiple precursors, and they both provide different precursors, raw materials to make this NAD. So what's NMN? What makes it different than the ingredient in prime NAD+? Well, NMN stands for nicotinamide mononucleotide. Again, it's a single molecule, and it's along the pathway of forming NAD. If you think of the formation of NAD as a journey, as a pathway, and here's your target, NAD, NMN stands right before, right next to, one reaction away from making NAD. So if the cell sees it and there's some available to it, wow, that's an easy street. That's the one I want. Boom, it's able to make NAD. That's the difference with NMN. A direct precursor. You can see that it just takes two NMN molecules. When they are combined at the phosphate end, like in this picture of the diagram of what NAD looks like, it's just two NMN molecules put together. You can see how simple that reaction is. How easy it is for a cell to do that. Everybody that took biochemistry in college, don't worry, I'm not gonna go over all the details here. But this is important to understand because this slide demonstrates all the different precursors, all the different building blocks that your cell has available to it to make NAD. And that's what I mean. NAD is so important that we need them. But some of them, as you can see, are very complicated. Some of them, the cell, especially as we get older, can't process all of these precursors to make NAD. And so it's looking for what we call the salvage pathway, the recycling pathway. It's looking for something like NMN or NR, that's the active ingredient that's in our prime NAD+, the precursor that's the building block for NAD that we get in prime NAD+. But look at NMN is sitting right there. Wouldn't it be nice, the cell says, if I had some NMN? And I don't do those other reactions very well. So that's just kind of easy street for us. And we all love that, especially as we are getting older. And how does it work? As I said, it's through that salvage pathway. It's the recycling pathway. Because NMN, as you saw in that biochemistry slide, it can be formed through the reaction of that wheel. The cell will have some leftover NMN that it can use and recycle. But if there's some out in the cell cytoplasm or in the mitochondria just floating around, it'll utilize that too, because it likes that. It likes that easy reaction. That, as I said, becomes more important as we age because we're not very efficient at all those other reactions. This is the one our cells prefer. And what did the research show? When they started giving elderly men NMN supplements over 12 weeks, they saw not just an improvement in their blood levels of NAD or improvement in tissue biopsies of NAD, they saw improved gait speed or walking speed, improved grip strength. There was another study that showed, the same, improved walking speed, but also improved sleep quality. Now these are real life, like real practical increases in what we do every single day. This is a measurement of the benefits of having more NAD around, not just having NMN, but actually getting that to convert into NAD, to give cells energy, to enable them to allow those elderly men to perform when they took it. That is what's really exciting for most of us when we see that. It's functional, real-world outcomes, not just biochemical markers. You can measure the difference when people take it. But NMN, you say, well, how does it fit in to this NAD strategy? Well, it's not a replacement for NAD. Prime NAD Plus is a great supplement, designed well. This is more, trying to expand on that conversation or expand the options that people have. Because what's interesting when you look at NAD or NMN or NR, the active ingredient in Prime NAD+, some tissues would prefer to use NMN. Some tissues prefer to use NR. Whether or not they have a receptor on their cell membrane that's better for NMN or NR, we don't really know. We haven't sorted all that out yet, but we do know there is some preference. And even individuals taking these supplements respond differently. And so it gives you more options. It gives you other supplements that you can offer to help people with their health goals, to reach their health goals. To review what Prime NAD Plus is, if we remember this, it's 2 ingredients. It's not just one single ingredient, NR, or nicotinamide riboside. That's what NR is. But it also is pterostilbene. When I saw this, I went, wow, pterostilbene. Haven't heard that before. Many of us probably don't know what pterostilbene is. Well, it's an antioxidant, just like resveratrol. It's actually very structurally similar to resveratrol, and it performs. It does many of the same things that resveratrol does. And the advantage to it is it absorbs a lot easier than resveratrol, and it even lasts in the body longer, so it has longer bioavailability or higher bioavailability to us. But it's a great antioxidant along with the nicotinamide riboside. And this combination has been around for a while. It's been studied extensively. It has a very strong safety profile, which is so important when you're talking supplements. Is the public able to take it without high risk? So all the studies have shown, very strong safety profile, great supplement to help with antioxidant support, sirtuin support, whole body metabolism, and cellular energy support. And then what about NMN, this Prime NMN now that we have available to us? Well, it's triple action cellular support. It includes NMN, that compound, that molecule that can become NAD. It includes fisetin, another plant-derived flavonoid with great antioxidant support, and it includes spermidine. And spermidine, a polyamine that our bodies make, that we have, but we don't do well as we get older, and it provides us more spermidine support, which is involved. Its primary function in our cells is for cellular maintenance. And we get to provide people with 500 milligrams of NMN per serving with our Prime NMN. And that fits perfectly with the clinical research, kind of like right in the middle, as it says, it sits in the middle, or the effective middle of what's been dosed through all the research. So it's supported by published data that is very safe to use in that range. What about fisetin? Fisetin, as I said, a plant-derived flavonoid. You can find it in many different foods that we eat, like apples and strawberries and grapes and onions and even tea. And we know a lot about plant flavonoids because our #1 seller, OPC3, is a mixture of flavonoids, some of the most powerful flavonoids on the planet. And fisetin is also one of those powerful plant-derived flavonoids, giving great support, great antioxidant support to all our cells. Flavonoids are really the key in long-term cellular health. the more flavonoids you can get into your diet and into your supplement,